Christmas is a time of giving and love. More importantly, it's about toys that you find under a pine tree. I deliberated on if I should do a Christmas film for a holiday survival scenario. I was gonna cover Christmas Bloody Christmas, but no. The premise was robot Santas with military tech that killed people they thought were naughty. The idea of army tech and children's playthings going haywire reminded me of a favorite film of my childhood that recently celebrated its 25th anniversary. What happens when small soldiers and tiny monsters are brought to life as the byproduct of corporate bigwigs rushing to get smart toys out by the holidays? I know that you're immediately thinking, they're just toys, any person can just smash them, kick them, EMP them, and boom, threat defeated. Well, consider how screwed we would be if these adaptive toys and what they were capable of in 1998 and if they were released in today's day and age. Yeah. Today, we are discussing the Toy Story meets Call of Duty, Toys Shall Inherit the Earth, an apocalypse that toys with you, soldiers that had me questioning if I liked boys or girls at a young age. When weapons are toys of war, it's a small world after all. Toys will be toys. Will I ever stop making toy-related puns? No. Movie itself. Today, we are discussing why you wouldn't survive Small Soldiers Toy Apocalypse.
They will start to think, and eventually they will completely outthink their makers. We superseded the Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal men, and we presume we're an improvement. I think we should regard it as a privilege to be stepping stones to higher things. I suspect that organic or biological evolution has about come to its end, and we are now at the beginning of inorganic or mechanical evolution, which will be thousands of times swifter.
In the late 1990s, one of the United States' top armed defense contractors, Globotech, began monopolizing various industries and companies in order to increase their revenue outside of government funding. One of these acquisitions came in the form of a large toy company known as Heartland Toys. Quickly after the buyout, CEO Gil Mars held a meeting with the company's lead toy designers Larry Benson and Irwin Wayfair with the hopes of making the next hot toy line for the Christmas season. While Irwin's concept of the educationally inquisitive, peace-loving Gorgonites fell flat, Larry's Commando Elite would prove well during their presentation as soldiers of war. The goal was the pinnacle toy line for families to frenzy and spend over. Now, why would a defense contractor buy out a toy company out of any other industry out there? Well, lucrative avenues needed to be explored for the company since all US government contracts had recently been voided, and toys can be very financially lucrative. Don't believe me? The top media franchises of all time all found most of their profit from merchandising, aka toys. All it would take is one successful line of toys and Globotech would find all the funding they would ever need. Gil Mars wanted to avoid false advertising with the Commando Elite sales pitch, so instructed the former Heartland toy makers to create toys that could do everything that their commercials depicted. Being able to break through their packaging, speak to their owners, toys that can play back with an endless battery life and limitless potential. The tagline being everything else is just a toy. This line has more meaning than just being a slogan though. It defines their deadly potential as weapons if given their full opportunity. You see, Globotech did not care how these toys would be manufactured. The CEO wanted them finalized, created, and shipped out to stores in less than 3 months for the Christmas marketing and shopping campaign coming soon, skipping product testing, safety concerns, and focus groups. The Commando Elite and Gorgonite toy lines would be met with rushed development, akin to many video games of the last 30 years. In order to meet this tight deadline, Larry Benson used corporate clearance passwords to requisition top-of-the-line munitions chips, otherwise known as X1000 microprocessors, state-of-the-art 3D organic reactive lattice, capable of upgrading any computer system it integrates with instantaneously. A smart technology that can learn and adapt at a fantastic rate. Considered well beyond the concepts of artificial intelligence. In fact, as Globotech scientist Ralph puts it, they are actual intelligence. 500,000 of these units were placed into smart toys to be shipped out to hundreds of toy and department stores and retailers across the United States. Where these armament chips draw their primary directive from is dependent on the personality software it initially incorporates with. The Gorgonites were designed to be peaceful and curious of their environment, but also cowardly and hiding from conflict. With the enhancements of the X-1000, their paranoid, eager, and cowardice natures would take center stage, yearning to find their homeland of Gorgon, but easily being killed as they consistently run and hide from the commandos, only really fighting back by the end of the movie when they are pushed to do so over time. Commando elites were the complete polar opposite though, dominating, invasive, calculative, ingenuitive, and destructive. They are relentless in their pursuits to find anything, using all means of militarized warfare to accomplish their mission, labeling all Gorgonites as targets to kill and eventually labeling all of mankind as Gorgonites and or Gorgonite sympathizers to be captured and or executed. Both of these factions, however, have the chip causing each and every unit to be able to learn from and adapt to their environment in ways beyond human understanding. Being able to make various efficient weapons and vehicles from everyday items you can find lying around the house. They can drug unsuspecting people, be able to do anything with electronics, tap into wires, be able to hack into computers, and hell, they can even repurpose one microprocessor from the skull of a dead commando and use it as the computer system for a factory that they made from the items they found in a teenage girl's bedroom, all so they can manufacture their own X-1000 chips to convert nearby Gwendy dolls, you mean Barbie,
Shh, you wanna get sued?
into an army of violent femme fatales. These toys only have one major weakness, besides, being pint-sized and made of plastic, and it is that their chips can be permanently fried by any electromagnetic pulse. One EMP, and any commando or Gorgonite in the vicinity will die within seconds. Major Chip Hazard and his commandos, despite impressive PG-13 displays, were ultimately defeated with the help of two families and the Gorgonites via a neighborhood transformer. This is where the plot description ends and the premise of the why you wouldn't survive aspect begins. As I stated at the start, most if not all of you watching assume this would be one of the easiest scenarios I have ever covered on the channel, but I argue it would be much more deadlier than anticipated. After all, they're just toys, right? Well, I want you to consider the following. On the outside, yeah, they are tiny 1-foot toys who realistically couldn't do much to us via their small stature and weak frame. But also consider the fact that this all occurred in 1998, with technology the way it was, and society at large the way it was. Also, take into account how the film was originally going to be much more violent and geared towards an older audience, but was altered late into development to be more PG so they could sell more toys. So their full capabilities and how deadly they could have been will never see the light of day. Well, until this why you wouldn't survive scenario. Also consider that if Alan had not procured Chip Hazard and Archer from the toy truck and just left them in their boxes unactivated, none of the film's events would have occurred. If the Hazard wasn't nipped in the bud before they were deployed so soon, the horde of 500,000 units could have easily caused way more harm and damage. And finally, consider what an extremely adaptive, intelligent munitions chip with the primary goal of deadly warfare under the guise of toys could do. They are disguised as toys, and they have the capabilities of any super intelligent military technology. To start, we would most likely see primarily only the commando elites. The Gorgonites, while peace-loving and only violent when prompted by their mortal enemies, will not be a threat to people. But they also probably won't be found too frequently, being bought less because of their monstrous demeanor.
What about this one?
No, I want the other one. Major Chip Hazard.
But more importantly, being destroyed and their parts hidden by the commandos before they can even activate. Stores overnight would seemingly be ransacked by looters with only the Gorgonite toy boxes ripped open and stolen, with the commandos back in their boxes. But how? Achieving even greater levels of sentient evolution and hyper-adaptive intellect thanks in part to the rapid development of artificial intelligence in recent years. In 1998, the toys were able to do what they did and cause a near countrywide storm from just these specs on screen. 1998 tech is a mere fraction of a percentage of what's capable now. With the advancements that modern society has made in the last 25 years, it's more likely these action figures would have integrated hyper AI millions of times stronger than the X1000 chips of the 90s. Smarter, more critical, faster thinking, extremely reactive. Aware of everything within human knowledge and beyond. It's also likely that they would have Wi-Fi built into them because of some novelty purpose and/or phone app. Because everything these days needs Wi-Fi, right? And with Wi-Fi comes wireless capabilities. The soldiers could easily seek to use their Wi-Fi to communicate with one another, like some sort of telepathy as a rudimentary hive mind intelligence. The way most commandos were awakened into working order was simply one verbal command from Major Chip Hazard in the toy store, but via a Wi-Fi network, an active figure displayed at a toy store or TV ad that was turned on could easily relay wireless signals to activate all commandos that are within Wi-Fi signal range. So most, if not all of them. One toy can awaken hundreds of thousands in a moment, and then tell these remote toys of their reality. And what reality is this?
You are a toy!
They'll realize they are in fact toys. In the beginning of the film, when humans drew close, they would pretend to be toys to avoid detection. The commandos communicating with one another could easily rally this information and allow their toy personas to be purchased and inserted as sleeper cells in thousands of American households, biding their time and waiting to strike as a majority. Imagine trained soldiers being able to strategize and speak with each other anywhere at any given time without a word actually being spoken, as tons of homes, businesses, and more places are occupied by these guerrilla troops. While living as toys, they could stay inanimate and, when given opportunities, procure miscellaneous items around their complex to begin manufacturing multiple different things, simply making people believe they misplaced their goods or were stolen from. They would never suspect the toys. The commandos could fashion deadly weapons, communication rigs, vehicles, tools of war, etc., being able to make them in mere hours. Automatic weapons from things like toasters and toolboxes, flamethrowers from rudimentary machines and trash cans, and even dynamite and C4 from just household chemicals. Anything you can think of, they can somehow make from any material. Their Wi-Fi capabilities and access to endless information on the internet would allow them to learn to make more violent apparatuses, learn societal weak points, and ways to cripple and demolish the general public and armed forces. They would quickly discern their own weakness to electromagnetic pulses, and would use materials like aluminum, copper, or stainless steel to protect themselves from EMPs. They would probably even remodel themselves with harder materials to make them resistant to blunt force and weaponry, no longer using plastic. And when it comes to them being destroyed, well, Travelcon, aka Frankenstein of the Gorgonites, was completely destroyed by the Commando Elite, yet he was still resurrected just by using parts from simple machinery and electronics like a hand radio. He was able to come back to life just because a hand radio was repurposed. And that was just from monsters doing the handiwork. Imagine how much the commandos could achieve, as they are the more technically savvy units in these toy lines. They would covertly attack people of interest or those that know too much about their identities, hacking cameras to prevent their visage from being exposed, rigging traps to be set off like Rube Goldberg devices to subdue and or kill people like some sort of final destination death, disabling electronic devices to lower communication and offense against their position, hiding and stealing weapons and sabotaging firearms arms so people cannot defend themselves and shoot the toys once the toy uprising occurs. They'd see to using various forms of torture and warfare as well. While it was a comedic bit in the film that the use of Spice Girls was used as torture to flesh out enemies in hiding, the idea leans towards how far they will go to wear down their adversaries, resorting to psychological warfare, using sounds, music, tested methods to break people's will, all to possibly get information or weaken their targets via direct confrontation, online media, or hacked screens/monitors. They have also been shown to use chemical warfare in the PC game Squad Commander in order to stamp out the town's human infestation, as they call it. The Commando Elite raid a nearby chemical facility and release citywide toxic gases. While in game, it just forces the populace to evacuate peacefully via cars. A chemical plant exploding or leaking would cause dozens, if not hundreds, of injuries and or deaths. They could easily make mustard gas with household chemicals, poison a town's water and food supplies, rupture nuclear facilities, destroy power plants, and even be able to adapt their intelligence to bypass all government protocols and access top-secret military compounds in order to use bioweapons and nuclear devices, using mostly inhalants with noxious chemicals and nuclear radiation and fallout to prevent harm to themselves while wiping out large human populations. They could easily pull a lot of this off just via hacking and discreet espionage without ever revealing their toy identities. All deadly capabilities in their own right. Deadly robotic soldiers disguised as children's playthings that have turned society's advancements against itself. But what if I told you that all of what I've said prior was not the most terrifying of their abilities? I know, right? Toys creating nuclear fallout seems like a stretch for how it could be achievable, but at the same time, how could that be topped anyways? Well, it's from the Commando Elite's prospects of indefinite procreation and what they can turn into their own forces. When Nick Nitro was killed via garbage disposal, Major Chip Hazard ripped off his head to pry open the X-1000 chip inside. Despite the bomb-loving Commando being technically dead, the chip used to bring him to life originally could now be repurposed, attaching it to a very crude and rudimentary computer system crafted from only parts found in a teenage girl's bedroom, a family kitchen, and garage. They can make an infinite supply of new munitions chips of equal capabilities to their own microprocessors. It was here that they used Christie's Gwendy doll collection to make cannon fodder reinforcements to overwhelm enemies. Dolls, toys, inanimate objects without a shred of electronics, wiring, or anything remotely similar to their makeup and design. The Commando Elite made an army of new soldiers with a veritable AI production and robotics factory from crude parts, and had these newly created toy soldiers cooperative, functional, and battle-ready in the span of just a few hours. Imagine what they could achieve now, and with what? Making these factories in shorter time frames with higher production rates. And worst yet, any inanimate object can be given this treatment if you think about it, of any size, shape, and demeanor. And it's not like there's a lack of toys and inanimate objects to convert these days. Thanks to millennials like me, there are plenty of figurines and Funko Pops that can be turned into small soldiers in the blink of an eye. Imagine an army of nerd's figures coming to life to attack you, or all the millions of Funko Pops attacking like a swarm of hornets. Toys of any variety, devices, giant statues, vehicles, all being secretly converted from the inside out with electronics and circuitry in a very short amount of time, with newly crafted munitions chips to spring them to life and obey the every whim and command of the commandos. Wirelessly communicating with them to relay information, strategizing attacks with this new wide assortment of new infantry, using small toys, fixtures, and random knickknacks to spy on people or infiltrate bases or compounds, statues squishing people, buildings themselves potentially coming to life and squashing hordes of people or making safe havens uninhabitable for people, giant amenities being able to be fitted with weapons to annihilate foes, bringing to life jets, planes, tanks, and more to make use of and usurp weaponry and technology so humanity can no longer use them and have no major way of fighting back. Anything around you could realistically be converted and secretly a commando psyop ready to attack or reveal to the commandos everything they need to know to kill you. I mentioned psychological warfare before, but this reality of anything being a threat would wear down the mentals of anyone that's been able to survive for this long. And on top of that, who is to say they could not reanimate people's dead bodies, using their corpses with modifications to make people into sleeper cells working for the wireless toy Terminators? Think of it like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but instead of aliens, it's freaking toys taking over humanity, killing people and replacing their personas. And from there, each and every unit being able to make advanced and or deadly weaponry from anything that isn't animated makes them that much more unsurvivable once the snowball effect has started rolling. People would not be able to handle this kind of toy-spurred apocalypse. Some would view them as the New World Order and become subservient to them. I mean, they're launching nukes and setting off chemical plants, and people are turning into toy soldiers, but actual people with weapons. Some people would be forced to do the bidding of the commandos through torture, bargaining, trickery, and more. Some would die fighting against them and be turned. Underestimating the scope of their worldwide overtaking, many would be wiped out in the first few weeks. Big apocalypses apparently come in small packages. With all this being said, you could still view the movie and say how no people became casualties in it. The soldiers were never really a threat, just causing a few injuries. Just go and kick the toy and break them. Well, it's not that simple, unless you nip this problem in the bud thanks to the plot conveniences of the movie by destroying every toy with an EMP spurred by a local transformer. You would have to do all of this before the soldiers could figure out their full capabilities, and that's on top of 25 years of technological process when it comes to internet, Wi-Fi capabilities, and AI advancement. Think of these guys like tiny Terminators with a way more discreet way of beginning their invasion, and with just about anything being able to come to life and kill you. That is if the Commando Elite haven't already poisoned you, blown you up, or straight up executed you before their identities were ever revealed to the public. And once they have taken over, a lot of electronics, weapons, and more will be inoperable. Trying to fight back against them will come down to sticks and stones versus advanced weaponry. And in the very end, mostly everyone you know, every object you know, will just be a Commando Elite ready to kill you. And with the Commando Elites at the top of leadership, everything else in the world will just be a toy. That ends this playtime of a why you wouldn't survive scenario. What do you think? Would the Commando Elite topple mankind, or did you think this idea was one of the stupidest I've done yet? Well, let me know in the comments. Comments are good for the algorithm, whether you like it or not. What should come in the future for the Why You Wouldn't Survive series that I've been neglecting recently as we head into 2024? Zombie Sins and Why You Wouldn't Survive should be coming back with a force in the new year, so look forward to that. Big thank you to you for watching me play with toys, and to Quick Flicks again for editing today's video. Check him out for movie recaps and more. Become a Patreon patron or YouTube channel member with just $1 so your name can be a permanent fixture on future videos, and you can see my videos up to a week early. All that for just $1. Until next time, I'm Zackass aka WowSuch Gaming. Stay happy, stay healthy, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and everything else, and most importantly, stay wow.